The greatest freedom I have ever experienced in forgiveness has come through forgiving my dad. Ultimately, it was about a 10-year journey with a lot of different ups and downs through the course of that. I'm going to share part of that story today. First of all, I have two goals with this. The first one is just to give you hope if you do have a difficult relationship with one or both of your parents. And the second goal is just to let you know and reassure you and encourage you that a key piece in forgiveness is prayer. No matter what your relationship is with your parents, your prayer for them is really powerful and it's so important, and don't give up. So, growing up, my dad was distant and absent a lot, consumed by working really hard for our family. And just when he was around, he was oftentimes really tired and exhausted from that, and not able to interact with us in positive ways. So sometimes that would come out in anger or frustration, or just wanting to be left alone. And so I have a lot of memories of him growing up, when I was growing up, of just arguments in our family, and wanting to just kind of stay away from him and hide from that. Around my freshman year of high school, my dad started to take his faith more seriously. He met with our associate pastor of our church at the time that we were going to, and he also started to lead prayer at home, usually around dinner time or after dinner. And I also see him just praying on his own and reading his Bible. It was really, really awesome. And one day he came to my brother and I, and he wanted to talk with us, which was shocking to me at first. I was like, what? Well, I wonder what he wants. And he sat us down in our living room and he started to share openly about his desire to change, the cycle of anger that he had grown up with in his family, his desire to be around more and to interact with us. And also, he asked us to please forgive him. Yeah. For the ways that he had been absent and that he had hurt us by his own anger. He was just offering us this beautiful apology. And I remember sitting there, like, it was kind of an out of body experience. I was in shock. I could not believe what I was actually hearing him say. And I remember looking at my brother like, should we trust this? Like, what's going on? Is this really happening? And I remember just looking at my brother in disbelief, like, I don't know what to think about this. And the only thing I managed to mutter at the time is, I don't know, Dad. I don't know. And my brother Steve was really gracious. He thanked him from what I remember, and he said he wanted to forgive him, but it would just take time. And he was right. Through high school, my dad continued to really try to work on his anger, and he struggled with that, and he was really doing the best that he knew how at the time. And looking back, I can see that. There were several notable times when he got super angry and frustrated with us, and there were fights in our family. And I mentioned one of those in my reflection on the God Who Sees as well. That video. So look at that if you're looking for an example of that. But looking back, I can see that he was struggling and he really was trying to do his best. But at the time, my heart was so hardened. I really did not have a desire for a deeper relationship with my dad at that point. And I held on to the hurt, not really being open to forgiving him at all. Despite my heart, the fact that my heart was closed at the time and a very rocky relationship with my dad, God was still working. He was still working. Two huge breakthroughs happened during my time in high school. One was my junior year of high school. Headed into my junior year, I had decided that I was going to enter the Catholic Church and become Catholic. And so for Catholics, we go through this process called RCIA, which stands for the Rite of Christian Initiation for Adults. And so that's a year-long process to enter the Catholic Church. So I decided that that's what I wanted to do. And there was a lot of other people in my life that were questioning that decision or wondering if I had lost my mind. And they also questioned my parents too. Like, are you letting her do this? Like, why would you do that? Why would you let her do that? And I remember my dad was 100% behind me, and just stood and supported me, defended me in front of other people, said, we're going to walk with her through this, and we don't know exactly what lies ahead, but we trust her. We know that she's a smart young woman, and I just had a huge breakthrough in my relationship with my dad because of his support in my decision, in the ways that he just trusted me in that moment. So that was really, really beautiful. And that started to warm my heart to forgiving him. And then the second big breakthrough that happened in high school was my senior year of high school. And a lot of retreats are like this, where you go on retreat and you receive letters from the people who love you and want to show you their love and support. And so my senior year, as part of my retreat, I received a letter from my dad. And I still have it. I have saved it. After all these years, I still have it. I keep it in my prayer journal, actually. And I love this letter so much. And it's really short. I'm going to share part of it with you. It's also really awesome. I love sharing this with teens when I tell this story on retreat. But look at that. He even wrote the time that he wrote it. It's incredible. It's so awesome. So this letter from my dad. Erica, this letter is to let you know how very special you are. I have seen you grow from a baby I could hold in my arms to a smart, beautiful young woman. I am very proud of you and all that you have accomplished. I know that God has something special for you to do. Just be open and silent. He will speak to you. I wish we could have spent more time together when you were growing up. I guess that is the way things happened. I do hope that you forgive me for this. I always loved you and Steve, no matter if I was there or not. I just want you to know. This time next year, you will be out of college. Be careful out in the big world. Beware of so-called friends who need you. Pray for discernment in all situations. Trust in God, and do not forget your mother and I will always be there, no matter what. I love you, Erica, and you will always be my little girl. Love always, Dad. So after reading this letter on retreat and crying my eyes out at the time, I went to the sacrament of reconciliation, to confession. And I asked the priest, I just talked with him about forgiveness. And I said, how do I forgive my dad? That's really what I want to be able to do. I don't know if I can ever let go of all those hurtful things that happened. And I also just said, I feel horrible that I've refused him forgiveness for all of these years. My heart has been so closed. And it was a huge turning point for me. And I felt I had this glimmer of hope and light enter my soul in that moment in confession. And I had that desire to forgive my dad for the first time in a very long time. I felt like God sent me new love for my dad as a person. That my dad, I could see him for the first time really as his own person, not just my dad, but on his own journey with God, and God as his father. And I don't remember exactly what the priest told me in confession anymore in the sacrament of reconciliation. I do remember, though, the joy and the light that I felt after leaving that confession, like a huge weight had been lifted. I also started to reread this letter whenever I felt anger or bitterness or resentment returning for my dad, or for what my relationship with him had been like growing up. I just read that letter, and I started to pray for more of that desire to forgive him. The rest of the story and the moment where my dad and I were fully reconciled would take some years to unfold. It happened when I was in college, actually home on a break, and maybe I'll record that in another video. But one thing I am super grateful for and will never ever regret is the decision I made that day to really let God open my heart again, to let my heart be open to that forgiveness on a deeper level, and to start to pray for my dad. To really sincerely pray for him, not out of anger or hurt, but out of love for him. and that he would come to know the love of God. So forgiveness can be tough, but remember that it's a journey and that God's grace is always there for you, for the asking, to help you in that process of real reconciliation and real forgiveness. It's possible. Just reach out to God and ask him to help you.